So we all know that JavaScript is single threaded. What that means is you cannot do multiple operations at a time. It is synchronous. Let's take a look at this simple example. Here I've got console log at the very beginning of the code, and then there is a function calculate. This function accepts two parameters and in return calls getSum. GetSum accepts two parameters, adds up both the numbers and returns. And then I'm passing in 2 and 5 as the value. And then there is a console log for the result, the end of code, another console log there. Final output would be something like this on the right side. The JavaScript engine, which is a core component which does all the parsing and executing of the code, it makes up the JavaScript runtime. The JavaScript runtime has two data structures essentially. These are heaps and callbacks. The heap is an unstructured storage for objects and variables, while the call stack is a stack. Stack is a data structure which works on the last in first out mechanism. The last to go inside the stack comes out first. That's called LIFO. Now we are going to look into the same code and see what happens to the stack. How does my call stack behaves? The very first function console.log is pulled into the stack. It gets executed and gets removed from the stack. After that, we have got just the function declarations. So they are not executed until they are called. In this line, I'm calling calculate function and I'm passing in values 2 and 5. So the calculate function goes onto the stack. Now calculate function in turn calls getSum. So getSum also gets pushed into the stack. Now getSum gets executed and is removed from the stack. Likewise, calculate returns and is pushed out of the stack. And then the console log statement after the function call is called, the result is displayed, the function is then removed from the call stack, and the last console log is called, pushed into the stack, executed and removed from the stack. So far so good. But what could be the problem? Well, we all know that the world is not that simple. It's more impatient and random. Take a look at this scenario. Here I have got a web page which is showing a video similar to what we have on the YouTube. There's a video being run on the left side, and on the right we have got the comments and the reactions after it. So if I have to represent this in terms of function call, I have got a get video function which runs for about 30 seconds. And then I have got get comments, which pulls in all the comments. And then I have got get reactions, and they are called sequentially. But the problem here is that your video will take 30 seconds to render, which means that after my video has been fully fetched, only then I can pull in the comments, and after I have pulled in the comments, only then I can pull in the reactions. So there is a lot of delay. There's a lot of latency here, and you cannot afford to have latency because it messes up the user experience. This is where we get into what are known as async operations or asynchronous calls. Async functions or operations are those which do not have to wait for the response to come back. They do not have to be in real time, which means I can do multiple operations at a time. But remember, I said JavaScript is single threaded. It does one operation at a time. So how does this happen? How does it manage the async calls? Well, JavaScript runtime is not the only thing we have. We also have the browser where the JavaScript runs. There is one JavaScript runtime which has got the call stack and the heap, and then we have got the browser. The browser has got their web APIs. So these web APIs provide us with features for handling async operations, for pulling in data, and for handling local storage, event handling, and many other features. So web APIs allow us to perform operations asynchronously. Take a look at this example here. Here I've got a console log at the beginning, and then I've got a set timeout function. Now this set timeout is coming from the web API. Remember that. Within the set timeout, I have got console log, but this only runs after 5 seconds. I've got 5,000 milliseconds of delay, right? Because the set timeout functions performs the operations after the given interval. So after 5 seconds, my console log within the set timeout will be run. And then I've got the console log at the end. So this is how my operation changes now. I've got a call stack. I also have a web API stack. I have got an event loop, and then I've got the event queue. So let's start the processing. The first line, console.log, is pushed into the stack, called, gets executed, is removed from the stack, and then we move on to the set timeout function. The set timeout function is moved on to the call stack, but the set timeout has got a callback which runs after 5 seconds. So the set timeout is passed on to the web API stack. Your call stack becomes empty. Now since the call stack is empty, console log at the end gets executed. Meanwhile, our web API, which is handling the set timeout, the 5-second timer completes. And now what happens is the function within the set timeout, the callback function, is pushed onto the queue. Now queue is another entity or data structure. It is different from your stack. So whatever goes into the queue first comes out first. So it is first in, first out. Now my callback function within the set timeout is pushed onto the queue. Now this is where the event loop comes in. Event loop watches the call stack. If it finds it empty, and then it looks at the queue. If there are any callback functions pending in the queue, it moves from the queue to the call stack, and that's how it gets executed. So basically, event loop performs the job of watching the call stack and moving events from the queue onto the call stack. So this is what an event loop is all about. Now you must be wondering how these asynchronous functions are being called. That's where callbacks and promises come into play. So if you haven't watched my video on callbacks and promises, here are the links to check out. If you have liked my video, do share and subscribe, get notified. Thanks for watching.